I hope we're live. I hope everything's working. Right now, take it away, Miranda.
Take it away. Well, we had fun this afternoon.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
We had tons of fun. I'm currently running everything because Aspen is at a friend's house and I've got the iPad in front of me and my laptop trying to get things started, and we just got back a few minutes ago, so it's a little rushed.
Yeah, she got invited over to a friend's house for the afternoon, and I don't think she even has she doesn't even miss us.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Yeah,
but
she has not been thinking much about us, I'm sure. And whatever it is she's doing over there, I'm sure it's wonderful.
I'm guessing she's doing a lot of giggling. It sounds like a girl thing to me.
Ah, so. Yes. Well, we'll see. So I'm currently sharing it all around and making sure everything works. So
okay, so shall I go ahead and get started with our illustration thing here? Or tell the people what fun things we did this afternoon.
Oh, tell them what we did.
Yeah, our Sabbath school decided to do a picnic this afternoon at a lake, and that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we had yummy food and great company and beautiful weather, and yeah, all sorts of good things like that. What?
Yeah, we went to a lake. It was a pond, more of a lake, but a pond. It was warm. It was our Sabbath school class. What did you tell them? Did you tell them that? Did you tell them it was our Sabbath school class?
Yes.
Okay.
I know, it's the boring version of it, but you know.
Yeah, tons of fun. And they were fun people, and they brought great drinks. Mm-hmm. Loved the drink. They had our favorite apple Martinelli's.
Yeah, Martinelli's sparkling apple cider.
Yeah, that was really good. Mm-hmm. It was yummy. So we'll do more with them because they bring great drinks.
Yes, because they bring great drinks and good Ruffles potato chips.
Yep, and beans. Yeah. And you had good Miranda's egg salad is great, and the brownies and ice cream. It was good. A good time was had by all. Mm-hmm. And I think we're good. So I'll try and monitor. If anything goes wrong, let me know. But I'm trying to run the live stream and monitor it at the same time. So we'll see how it goes. You ever notice people are trying to sell you something all the time? They're always trying to sell things. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse over the years because, like before, you could watch the night news or the afternoon news or the morning news, and you could watch your local TV news station and know you were getting the news. And, you know, over time, little stations got bought up by big stations, and then you could almost tell, oh, these guys have a left-leaning slant, these have a right-leaning slant, and yada, yada. But at least it was the news. And then when the commercials came on, it was clearly a commercial. And, you know, even in the old days, in the 50s, you know, the TV shows, and our sponsor now, you know, we break now for a word from our sponsor, or if it's a game show, it's like, you know, if you had eaten your Kellogg's Wheaties, you'd have better brain power. I mean, you knew it was an ad. But nowadays, that is like radically different. So you'll be watching your local news station, and then today we're going to interview some person, and they're talking about some diet or some, you know, something that's, you know, is a miracle cure, or something that's a, you know, a mechanical whatever you need to make your life complete. And the truth is, it's just a commercial that they disguise as a news story. And early on, you could look at it and go, wait, is this a news story? Or are they true? But then people are like, oh, well, the news are interviewing this doctor, so it must be real. And it's just a product placement that they've paid to be on the news show. Mm.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, this last week, since we're actually talking about perfection today, as I was reading through the news, I saw an article that was titled, keeping your house nice would be much easier if you did any of these 44 things.
Oh, right.
I thought, oh, that sounds like it could make my life more perfect if I just did maybe even all 44 of them, right? Because, you know, you just like, yes, do it. And I hadn't really seen those kinds of ads before, you know. So when I clicked on it, I was like, oh, they're just trying to sell me something off of Amazon. Yeah. I scrolled through maybe the first 10 of them or so, and yeah, I suppose they were nice little things like drawer organizers or something, a hanger thing you'd put in your kitchen cupboard to hang up the either pots and pans or the lids and such like that. And finally I got tired of looking and I clicked off because, and I got to thinking about it, like, what if I'd have bought all 44 of them? Because they were kind of cool ideas, you know. What if I got all 44 of them? Now, how perfect was my life going to be, right? Well, for starters, it would only be a real momentary thought of perfection, because now it would just make more work for me. Yeah. Because first of all, you have to then organize your drawers if you get a drawer organizer, and then like if you're going to hang up that thing where you hang your lids and stuff like that, all that requires nails and tools and screws and stuff like that. So now you've just made your life less perfect, actually.
More work.
Yes. So.
And it never looks or works out as good at your home as it does in the ad.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, remember, those happy people standing next to those products are paid actors.
Right, and you really got to wonder about some of those, because we got a waffle bowl maker.
Yes.
Recently. Oh my goodness. And it was honestly the highest rated on Amazon. Yeah. And so we thought, hey, how can you go wrong, right? Obviously, you could go wrong.
Very wrong.
Because the handle, if you want to call it that, you know, where you would lift to open up the top of the waffle when it was done, that's right where all the steam is coming out. Yeah. And so you're going to burn yourself or your waffles, one or the other, because, that was pretty ridiculous. I remember that as a kid.
Ours, and this was back in the 70s, I guess, but our waffle iron was like that, you know. It was done, you lift it, and it was always a pain because, like, oh, it's hot, you know. And
but it was, I think it was putting out steam even, like, as you reached for it.
It's,
it was really hot, and then on top of that, ours arrived broken right there where the handle thing was, and so that was, you know. So, but we thought, well, we can use it anyways, but clearly not. No. It wasn't working out at all.
Yeah, the pain was not worth the end result waffle.
Not at all, but we did manage to make up the rest of the waffle mix and be done. But oh no, actually we didn't, because we got out the regular old flat waffle iron and made the rest of the waffles that way. So,
So, and that was another thing. Like, now I get up every day and read the news, and not just on the TV news station now. And as you read the news, you get articles like that, and they're sort of, you know, the headlines kind of seem like a news story, but then you get into it and it's all just a big ad. You know, at the very bottom they'll say, you know, disclaimer, we get 10% if anybody orders, you know, with a link from our page. And it's just all the time, no matter what, you're just saturated with people trying to sell you stuff that's going to make your life easier, better, and more perfect.
Right, but it's not really true, because they're clearly making money if you do that. If you believe them, you know. So anyways, But Jesus talks about being perfect.
Yeah, because it is a universal human thing. It's like, how do I make my life better? We're not all so far removed from the rich young ruler who was like, you know, make my life perfect. I mean, we're all looking for ways to make our life better.
To make our lives better. And see, when we think that if our lives are perfect, we're going to have peace.
Peace, right.
Yes. And then we don't have to worry about anything. We don't have to, whatever it is that's bothering us. If we can make that perfect, then we'll have peace.
Yeah.
I mean, take churches, for example. You know, well, if we just get rid of those people over there, we'll have peace. Well, maybe you should try loving them. That's what Jesus says. So, anyways, a little off topic right there.
Yeah.
We are talking, Ashley, about starting off with the rich young ruler today. Matthew 19:21, Jesus said, "If you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me." So we know the story of the rich young ruler there in Matthew 19, and he comes to Jesus and he says, "What more must I do to have salvation? Because I keep all the commandments and everything." And so, but he knew something was missing still. He knew his life wasn't quite perfect yet, so he was still out there looking for something to make his life perfect. And so anyways, you have student of doing equals being.
So yeah, the rich young ruler, you know, was from obviously a well-to-do family, and being, you know, the title of ruler, it meant that he had gone to the, you know, most prestigious Pharisee as a student. He would have had access to the, you know, the most sought-after Pharisees as a teacher, as a tutor, you know, Whereas, people of the lower socioeconomic might sit in a room of 30 students. He had a one-on-one, and it was, with some Pharisee of high note because he was from a ruling family. So he was a student of what you do is what you are, a student of doing equals being, which is why he probably had this both philosophy and frustration of, if I keep the 10 Commandments, if I do everything right, then I will be perfect, I will have peace, I will be whole. And it clearly didn't work for him. So kudos to him for recognizing his need, recognizing that just doing did not equal peace. And but that was his philosophy, that was what he was taught. And it left him, feeling shortchanged and wanting and needing and empty in some sense. And so he goes to Jesus and says, I've done everything I can think of. What am I missing? Tell me what I'm missing.
Right. So basically, he was living in a place where he had this list of things that if he did all of those, he would arrive at this place of perfection. Mm-hmm. But that's really a pretty crummy place to live. And clearly, he did not know who God had created him to be, because if we are living out who God created us to be, then we are at peace in our hearts.
Yeah.
So God only wants our authenticity. His truth lived out in us, who he created us to be, a true treasure in his storehouse. Because that's what that verse there says. Jesus answered back, he says, if you want to be perfect, sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And so Jesus anyways.
He makes the difference here between doing and being.
Right. So basically, Jesus says, if you want to be the person that I created you to be, then you need to get rid of this stuff that's holding you back. And see, we always think we need to add something more. Oh, if I work out more, if I eat more lettuce, whatever it happens to be, if I add more work of some sort, then I will finally arrive at perfection. But Jesus is saying, nope, get rid of everything, and then you will arrive at perfection. So he
was trying to clear out all that stuff he thought was what helps him, achieve perfection. Jesus was clearing out, saying that's actually what's keeping you from it.
Yeah. So anyways, we talked about that a week or two ago, that, so many times we try to hold on to those little sins on the side. And we know Jesus wants, but we can't see why we really need to give them up. We don't want to give them up. Think life might not be quite as fun if we did that. But in the meantime, to be all that God created us to be, it's time to give all of them. Get rid of them. It's like what Jesus was telling the rich young ruler to do. And it's not necessarily money. For him, it was money. For us, we each personally pretty well probably know what it is that we are holding back from God. If we're trying to serve God, then we know where we're holding back.
So Jesus was all about, you really want to find out what it is you're missing. Go get rid of all that stuff, because the stuff is what's keeping you down. And then come and follow me. And so now it's all of a sudden, it's not about what you've been doing. It's about who you're going to be with. And, let go everything and come be with me. Then you'll find what it is that you're looking for. And that's a relationship.
Right. So basically, the rich young ruler was spending the gold coins that he had on more stuff, basically, getting more stuff so he could continue to pretend that he was pretty awesome. And nearly perfect, right? He must have thought he was nearly perfect. He's just searching for that little something he needs to add on.
Yeah.
Jesus, on the other hand, just wanted him to get rid of that lie and to start being who he had created him to be, which is humble. God did not create us to be prideful. He created us to be humble. And so when we give all of self to Jesus, now we become the gold coin in his hand. And now Jesus gets to spend us as he sees fit in whatever situations of loving our neighbor, basically, that he puts us in. And he spends us that way, and that is now our treasure in heaven.
Yeah. So if I look off and I'm distracted again, if you just joined us, I'm kind of running everything. So I'm not ignoring Miranda. I'm paying attention to two screens because Aspen is not here with us today. She is at a friend's house having a wonderful time, I'm sure, and I'm here doing her job happily.
Yeah, we won't give her a hard time about that.
I give her a hard time about that. And I look the way I do because we just came back from an outing with our Sabbath school class, and that's why I'm drinking water and sweating, and she looks perfect no matter what. But me, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, we could wrap it up right there, or we could move on.
Oh, let's keep going.
Okay. So Paul also talks about being perfect in Colossians. Colossians chapter 3, verse 14 says, and above all these things put on, which was things that he was telling them how to live, basically, a Christian life. And above all these things put on love, which is the bond, which actually can also be translated band, but the bond of perfectness. So I find that interesting that perfectness would be sort of like a bond, almost like sin would be a bond. So also being perfect would be. So the bond or the band of love that encircles someone, think about it. It is the one piece of the spiritual armor that encircles a person, and that's the belt of truth. So the truth will set you free. The truth of love is that it sets us free from sin. The love of Christ on the cross, our love for him, and our love for others sets us free from sinning against them.
And I like what Paul is saying here, because it was, he's talking about being patient and being kind and da-da-da. And then at the end he says, but above all these things, wrapped around in love, it's the bond of perfection, it's the bond of peace. And it just makes you feel like, it makes you think that acting in love, or reacting in love to no matter what happens, is the bond and the circle that brings us to that perfection and that peace. And it's the belt of truth, right? Belt of truth, and that the truth is love, and so everything else is wrapped around this band of a loving attitude towards others, and that is kind of like what's behind peace, perfection is reacting and acting in love.
Right, absolutely. And also it's interesting how the belt of truth would go around the central part of your body, and is not the truth of God's love central to our whole being and how we live? I mean, there's certainly the central part of God's gospel to the world is the truth of his love.
I don't know how it fits, but going around your gut, that's your second brain, I'm told. You have two brains, and then you have your gut. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Gut brain, and it's even more, and so it encircles our gut brain, which I'm sure is
apparently they
profound.
say is as intelligent as a cat.
Yeah.
Well, we have a couple of smart kitties around here. I tell you, we do.
I don't know that my stomach seems or feels as smart as a cat, but that's what they tell me.
Okay, so the rich young ruler wore this belt around his clothing, right? And being as he was rich, he no doubt wore a quality belt. It was not a belt that your average...
It's not from J.C. Penney's, let's just put it that way.
A man who's out there fishing or something like that may have put on. You could tell that he was wealthy by partly of the clothes that
And
he
what
was
would hang
wearing.
off those belts?
What would hang off that belt? For him, it would have been a money bag.
A money bag.
Yes. But Paul talks about putting on the belt of truth, which would be comparable to a soldier's belt. And this was a belt which carried the soldier's weapons, and one of those weapons would have been the sword of truth.
Truth, yeah.
And the sword of truth represents the word of God. And I find it interesting how the belt of the rich young ruler wore represented money, and could also have a money bag tied to it. Well, we have all heard of the phrase, money talks, right?
Money speaks loudly, money talks.
Right. Now compare that, money talks, to the Word of God. Whose words are we listening to? Who speaks truth? And when we are living out God's truth, we are living out His perfect life for us. And
I just got it. The belt of the rich young ruler with the money bag on it and money talks. The belt of truth with the sword in it and it talks. That's good. I just got that.
Well, I had it this morning.
I know. It was in there, but I didn't put it together until just now. That was really good.
So anyways.
It was good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing how it really works out like that, yeah. So anyways, when we say, when we say money, it's not just money. It is whatever it is that is keeping us from giving everything to God. And whatever that lie is that we're believing, that we need to keep living out so that our life will be perfect, it's speaking to us as well. Mm-hmm. And it's not.
And now a moment of psychology. So, when we have the presence of something like a habit, habitual sin or something that's sin that you had, like you say, a pet sin or something, it's safe and it feels much more peaceful to hang on to it than to let go of it. And letting go of something we become used to or comfortable with is scary. And yet, that is some of the spiritual challenges we have is when God is like, this is something to let go, but it's so scary to let go. And sometimes it's a process that God takes us through for us to be able to release, things that we've had in our lives for a long part of our lives, or habitual sin or something like, bad habits and stuff. And so, yes, it speaks to us and it says, don't let go. Don't I make things more comfortable and things. And it is scary to let go, but on the other side is a release and a freedom and a peace we won't experience, which is obviously what Satan doesn't want us to experience.
Right, absolutely. And then once we've done that, we have peace.
Yeah.
And that was the next verse after in here in Colossians that Paul was writing about. Verse 15 of Colossians 3, and let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which all ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. So, okay, peace. So, no doubt the rich young ruler wore shoes, right? And he would have worn rich guy shoes, basically. He wasn't going to put on the sandals that some fishermen wore that were nearly falling apart or something like that. No, he had quality shoes. And I doubt he just had one pair. He probably opened his closet and had multiple pairs of quality shoes, right?
Even though he was a guy.
Right. So he wore the shoes, and the shoes took him places, right? They also took him to the feet of Jesus, looking for peace, right? He was seeking perfection in which he hoped to find peace. And so we too go about our lives doing things to give ourselves peace, whatever that may look like for us. Basically, the thing or things we want to keep that Jesus says, give them to me, just give all of them to me, and then come follow me. That was Jesus' advice for how to have peace. And we tend to look to the externals for peace, but Jesus says that peace is in our heart. The externals. We just think of some of these, if our neighbors would only be quiet, if this, if that on the outside a lot of times, if only we could make that happen, we would have peace. But that's not how it works. It's a peace, it resides on the inside of us. And all right, so let's compare the rich man's shoes the rich young ruler wore to the military shoes that Paul was talking about. First of all, they both go on the feet as a foundation of sort because we're standing on them. And now the Roman military shoes had small iron nails nailed into the bottom of them to keep them from falling. All right, so think about it. The little iron nails on the bottom of the shoes kept them from slipping. And every time we do the will of our Father in heaven, it keeps us from slipping and falling. And every time we're tempted and we take up the cross and follow Jesus, we don't slip, right? Okay, so think about it. What nailed Jesus to the cross? Iron nails, right? Much bigger than the little iron nails that went in the bottom of the shoe. But that was, that right there was the epitome of doing the will of your Father in heaven. And
so they say it was, you've heard it in songs and too, that say it wasn't the nails that kept Jesus on the cross. It was, the love for, all of us and to do the will of his Father. That was what kept him on the cross.
Right, absolutely. So, basically, shoes of peace. I looked that up. I love to read commentary and the word translations and such. So the shoes of peace, the word translated peace could also be translated prosperity. And we have peace with God. When we have peace with God, our spiritual prosperity will grow. It just will. Our land that the enemy now occupies, God will take back. Take, for example, the enemy steals our peace and he gives us fear. And yet God says, my perfect love casts out fear. And this is what we were talking about before, was love being that truth that sets us free. So, yes. I'm just trying to shorten this here.
We're a little more smooth.
Yeah.
But we just got back from the lake. Maybe you remember.
So how does this relate to my need to be good and perfect? I don't know about you guys, but I remember, actually as a small child, I thought to myself, what is it that my parents want me to do? Because, every now and again you get in trouble, right? So what is it that my parents would want me to do? Well, they would want me to be good. Well, then we equate good with being perfect, right? And so how does all of this that we've been talking about relate to my need to be good and perfect? Basically, when I stand on peace, that foundation of the shoes of peace, I am no longer at peace with the world. I am now at peace with God. And so being at peace with the world is a constant fight to be good enough and more than. And that's what the rich young ruler was doing. And that's what we do a lot of times. We try to be good enough and better than, which is not the same thing as God's perfection in our lives. So God brings his own perfection into our lives. He doesn't need ours, which is all jaded up by our human imperfections. He brings his perfection, and we stand on that, and we do battle with those shoes on. And the battle is living out the will of God, which gives us peace on the inside despite all the crazy that's going on the outside. And yeah, it's interesting how we can give that sort of thing over to God and he can work that out for us, which we're still working on that. So, yeah, shall we wrap it up?
Yep.
Okay, good. So Jesus says perfection is less and not more. So I'm going to try to remember that next time that I think cleaning the whole house in like an hour is the more than I need to do.
Yeah.
Paul says perfection is love encircled around us. And for an analogy today, we have called that love the truth, which sets us free from the sin that we need less of. The freedom of sin we receive from Jesus, who set an example on how to give all by dying on the cross, so we could choose to have nothing and be nothing, and therefore have all. And that wraps it all up right there. Do you have anything brilliant to add, Brett?
Less is more.
Less is more.
Less is more.
Good.
That's what we say. So, yeah. So anyway, I think because when I read through it, I read through it like 3 times, and I go back to the love being circled around everything. That when your actions and your reactions to people, places, and things are, if you pause and take the moment and ask God, give me a loving reaction or perspective, that's where peace and even you take steps towards perfection. When you're reacting and acting out of love, you're walking that path. Right,
and that circle of love, if that's what you call it, encircled with that, and that gives us peace also. We call that the circle of peace as well, because it is peace that gives us strength, which gives us victory, which gives us joy, and it's and
it just kind of one leads to the next if you will walk that path, and it's just a great place you can walk in life, because then you're at peace with yourself, with others, and with God, and it's this peaceful place to dwell. So that was my favorite part. Anyway, so if you haven't had a chance, you should get out and go to a lake somewhere, because that's a lot of fun. It's a little warm here.
Yes.
Got up to 95
borderline.
Or something. Wow.
It's sad when we got in the car it was 95. It said in the weather it was supposed to be 85. It was just on the verge of getting too warm.
Yeah. And today's our first day. Is this the first time Aspen's been at someone's house on a Sabbath afternoon?
It is.
So
we're branching out of our parent,
we are not at peace. There's no peace here because our daughter is at someone's house for the first time, having fun without us and not.
Yeah,
thinking
she's having
about
fun
us.
without us, and she's not missing us.
I don't understand how that's possible,
Yeah.
but apparently it is. So we're gonna go get her because she's not allowed to have fun without us.
Yeah, she can come home and not have fun
Not
with
have fun
us.
with us, darn it. Yes. Anyway, so if you have any tips on raising teenagers, let us know. And next week we'll be back.
I think she's probably raising us, Brett.
She probably is raising us, yes. Yeah, we'll be back next week because we just do this no matter what.
We have more things to talk about.
Even if we're out at a lake, we will rush back and do this. And
Yes. Yeah, we
Yes.
will. Because
she's committed to this, and so when she commits to something, we have to do it every week because we said we would. So here we are. But it is fun though, and it's a
German attitude.
It is a German attitude.
I can't help it.
The only thing that would make this more German is if we ate potato soup while we were doing it. That would be good. So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us whenever you do. And again, we're here every Sabbath doing this because we enjoy it and it's fun for us. So hopefully it's something it's giving you something as well. And we will see you next week.